Welcome back to the Illuminated Path. This is episode 53. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. It's something we've talked about and mentioned in many different episodes, but we've never done like a full episode focused on it. So I thought it was a good one to talk about today.
Yeah, I think that this really is the difference of designing a life that you're passionate about and accepting things as, status quo. So I think if you're doing any kind of mindset work, a lot of it starts here. Like, what do you believe is possible?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's those limiting beliefs. That's just like the beliefs that you formed when you were younger and continue to form, but and how that's affecting how you move forward. So
Yeah. So explain to us, what is a fixed mindset?
before we get into it,
Oh,
I want to share my masterclass
oh, yes.
was yesterday. It was really great. I'm super excited about it. So it's still available if you didn't get a chance to see it or sign up. If you go to newmoonholisticlife.com/unlock, I can send you the replay for you to watch. So it's really all about how you heal yourself and how that healing within can just radiate so much growth and potential and being just like connected to who you are can affect your business, your relationships, everything externally from you and how it really starts with you. There's so many like business coaches out there and stuff saying it's about strategy, it's about sales, it's about marketing. And yeah, those things are important. But if you are going into this in this like bad energy and not taking care of yourself, prioritizing your health,
Yeah.
it's you're gonna be up against a wall. It's so much more about being your true self and that you are an extension, like your business, sorry, is an extension of who you are and
Yeah.
how you're taking care of yourself. So that's really what we went over in the masterclass and walking you through like that path. I share my story about how I've kind of gone through this a couple times in my life.
Yeah. I mean, there's cycles to everything. I think that was the post you put out recently of
Yeah.
we've been through very stressful times in our business, and we've been through times where it felt fantastic.
And that all went back to like how we were treating ourselves and how
Yeah.
we were taking care of ourselves and prioritizing our health and being the best version of ourselves is it radiates into everything else. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so if you want to check out the masterclass, you can go visit newmoonholisticlife.com/unlock and I'll add the link. All right, now we can get started.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. I wanted to make sure I shared that again.
Okay. So fixed mindset. What is it? Why does it matter?
Fixed mindset is believing like things just are as they are and you can't grow, you can't change. Like it's really believing like there is no opportunity. This is just what it is.
Yeah. Like,
And
I have to do this. I'm
it's
just stuck with this.
yeah, it's a really like it's kind of a negative mindset to have and to be in and to go into things with because you've already stopped yourself
Yeah.
like from growing, from getting anywhere other than where you are. And when you go about life in that way, like you're just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
It's a big time like limiting belief to have too.
I mean, I always think about career wise, right? Of like people who, it's just kind of this idea of like, oh, I can't accomplish that. I can't do that. I won't get to that level. I don't qualify for that job.
Mm.
And there's not like a lot of times, right? This isn't always the case, but a lot of times these people don't take initiative
Yeah.
to go do something, to take the action, to get the credentials, or to, get the experience and the exposure to take that next step.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many stories of people starting from like rock bottom and making their way up to like this fantastic career where they're comfortable in their job and the amount of money they're making. Like it is all possible. And seeing other people do it is that exact proof of
Right.
the very possibility that it is. But it's the difference there is someone having a fixed mindset and having a growth mindset, which we'll get into. But it's the belief. The
And
belief is where it starts.
right. And like, imagine going through the human experience thinking that it's always just supposed to be the same mundane thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not, like it's the difference of understanding you can design your life or you're just stuck with whatever's handed to you.
Yeah. It's that mindset of like, well, this is how I've always been, or
Mm.
this is who I've always been. And
Well, that was one I wanted to mention because I think, we've seen it in business where like somebody comes in and they've got this attitude of like, they want to change something and someone else is like, well, this is how we've always done it.
mhm,
And that attitude, there's so many things wrong with it. But also, first of all, be open to the possibility that there's more to learn. There's another way to do something, there's better ways to do something. But I also think there's a level of fear involved of I don't want to have to learn something new. I don't want to be a beginner at something or do something that I'm unfamiliar or uncomfortable with.
yeah, it is a lot about comfort because you just want to live in that like state of knowing and what you're comfortable in. And people are willing to like stay in an area that is comfortable, even if it's not something that actually makes them happy.
Even if it's not safe. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the expression? The familiar hell versus the unfamiliar heaven.
Yep.
So and I don't mean this in a there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5 job if you enjoy your 9 to 5 or whatever is going on, but a lot of people cling to the 9 to 5 because they can claim that they have security, they have the one we always hear, benefits. Oh, I can't get benefits. It's very simple to get benefits, to figure out your health insurance and whatever you got to figure out as a self-employed person. It's just that culturally that is like the fear-based belief that we've given people of like, oh, you can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's always some excuse, some reason why you can't take a leap because you choose what is familiar.
Take a leap in anything. I
Yeah.
mean, job or not, it's like you just refer to maybe past experiences where something maybe didn't go as planned. So you're afraid to try that again or try something different, or you strongly believe in like failure and haven't had the chance to redefine what failure actually means.
Mm,
And that it's, seeing things as like opportunities and just challenges to overcome and grow. If you're seeing things as like, well, I failed and that stops you, that's really like that fixed mindset.
yeah, I think that's a really great and interesting point of like someone who has a fixed mindset actually believes they can fail, right? Like I could do something wrong and fail. They're, afraid of being embarrassed or being judged. Whereas someone who has a growth mindset is willing to look past that and be able to say, like, this is an opportunity for me to grow into the person I want to grow into. This
Mhm.
is, uh, my potential. There are things here that I can learn from. And there's an understanding of like, you never truly fail. You are learning and you're working toward what you consider the win,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, any more on fixed mindset or you want to keep going on growth mindset now? I feel like we kind of
And I
covered.
think we covered a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, you just kind of explained some of what growth mindset is, but yeah, it's like that openness. It's that willingness to always learn, always grow, always educate yourself on something new, no matter what age you are, no matter how long you've been doing something a certain way. Like you just said, realizing there are other ways.
Yeah.
And so it's that openness to always growing. Um, I wanted to mention neuroplasticity. That is like
Mm,
the scientific term that they've been able to study and like physically see how our brain can rewire. It can rewire to have new beliefs and new thoughts. It can rewire to have, build new skills, and repeating actions and repeating thoughts that are new is what creates and grows those new neural pathways in your brain. So it's literally possible.
yeah. I mean, the I would go as far as saying anyone who tried to do anything great had to have a growth mindset. I
Yeah.
don't believe you can really do great things with a fixed mindset. It keeps you small.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that figure it out mentality.
Mm,
It's not being scared to fail, like you were just saying, seeing things as opportunities. seeing things as like, okay, plan A didn't work. What's plan B? If plan B didn't work, what's plan C?
Yeah.
It's just always continuing to go towards something, to learn something, to do something if it's important to you.
Yeah.
And it's based on like your reasoning why you want it. Deciding something is important to you and just not giving up. And the thought and the belief is the number one thing. Like that's the first thing you need in order to succeed is the belief that you can even do it.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think of trading. Like, there's been so much trial and error. And like, was in another mentorship. I was learning a different strategy. I had different techniques and things I tried, and I was testing things, and I was constantly failing. I was losing the challenges. I wasn't getting the accounts. Like, I was constantly losing, and I had to go through that and be willing to accept that there's better ways to do things. There's new ways that I haven't learned yet. But also throughout that process have the faith that I know I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've shifted so many times in our businesses. We've
Yeah.
been a marketing agency. We did that and shifted in that multiple times. And then we shifted in our life coaching and then we were doing it together and then I was doing it myself. Like there's so many times we've shifted and I'm just so grateful that we always have the like openness and willingness to try new things, to try something different, to go about it at a different way and every time like it feels better cuz we know we're like going in the right direction and we're just continuing to grow into whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And we have an open mind. Like we have a growth mindset, but we have an open mind. Like we know our goals and what we want and what we desire, but we're open to things maybe being a little bit different. Like whatever
Mm.
happens, we just kind of believe like that's what's meant to be.
Yeah. And I think, it's, what's the expression? You don't need to see the whole staircase, just the first step.
Yeah.
Or there's a quote, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And I think the idea really is like people want to have the whole blueprint out in front of them and be able to see everything that's going to happen. And that's just not how life works. What you get to focus on is really the task at hand. What is your goal? And what are you trying to design and create? But there's no way to know what happens along that journey.
Right.
You know, we were never going to know that my lung was going to collapse while we were doing consulting work. Like that, those are just the details of life,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. And that goes back to like you don't know, so focus your energy on what's important, yourself.
Right. Right.
Because that creates everything for you. I mean, that's what we talked about in my masterclass. Like, focus on yourself, focus on your own mindset, your beliefs, your energy, like your own health and healing, because that's what creates everything else and enables more growth.
I mean, that's what is within your control. And I think that's something that's worth mentioning too is the difference of being a business owner and being self-employed, right? Is a business owner has systems. Someone who's self-employed, if they're not able to work, the business stops generating revenue. And so with a lot of self-employed people, there's the understanding of like you've got to take care of yourself because if you can't do it, it doesn't happen.
Right.
So and that's why you and I are big advocates for you've got to take care of yourself in order to build something meaningful out
Hmm.
of your life that whatever you're trying to create, it starts with you.
Yeah. So, how can you really become aware of it and what mindset you're in and shift your perspective? I mean, that's really like step one is being aware of the thoughts and the beliefs that you have around something. Like, do you find yourself getting scared and not wanting to try something or having like this predetermined belief? I don't think I can try that. Or, that's going to take years to do. Okay, well,
Well, let's get into that for a second, right? Because
mhm,
I think, we always talk about awareness, but like, let's actually speak to what that looks like. So if you wanted to, well, we're getting firewood, right? So maybe you want to start a tree business. You want to start a tree company, arborists, whatever it is.
mhm,
You're afraid of, oh, it doesn't work out, right? You need to be able to look at that and say to yourself, what am I afraid of?
yeah,
Oh, I don't think I'll get enough clients. Why are you afraid of that? I don't have a big enough network. Well, do you have ways to get to grow your network? Oh, maybe I could go on a local Facebook page or go to networking events or, knock on doors, whatever. You have to kind of have that dialogue with yourself and be able to work through what are the fears, what are the limiting beliefs. It's helpful to be able to recognize them and have the awareness, but the next step then is to be able to work through them and understand like how you handle them
Yeah.
and move on from them.
I always say when you're like really working through those beliefs, it's like it's constantly questioning them
Yeah.
because when you question them, you are kind of telling your brain to like think about it. Think about the possibility. Think about the answer to this question of like, well, what is possible? Is there a way to do whatever I'm trying to tell myself I can't do? So it puts you in a little bit more of a solution thinking mindset versus like being stuck in the problem and being like, well, this is the problem and I just can't because that's
Yeah.
limiting versus being solution oriented.
It makes me think of Russ, the rapper.
Hmm.
He he always says, everyone's always like, what if it doesn't work out? And, backstory, Russ put out music for 10 years before he ever got big. And basically, because he was an independent artist, he had so much trouble getting on the radio, doing all kinds of things because he didn't have those corporate connections. And in an interview, someone asked him, what is the best advice you've ever received? And he pauses and he just goes, what if it turns out better than you ever imagined?
Yeah.
And it's understanding like the perspective shifts are very important because what you think about you bring about.
Yep. That's the difference between like having the mindset of like anything is possible
Yeah.
and like I was saying before, you have a goal and you have a dream and like what if it turns out better than you expected and being willing to shift and navigate versus being stuck and be like I don't think I can.
Yeah. So as you're dealing with this and trying to, work through a fixed mindset and get to a growth mindset, or if you have a growth mindset and you're trying to continue to build on that and expand your perspective, I always think about, I think people have there's like a joke of like if you go to a therapist, they're like everything they say is like, okay, why?
Mm,
Or, and how does that make you feel? Like be able to do that with yourself and really think about the answers that are coming out of you and understand like, is that an answer I like? Is that the person I want to be?
mhm.
So I think that's tremendously helpful. I think we as a society have kind of shamed talking to yourself. But you got to be able to do it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And like kind of goes along with what we were just saying, but sometimes like I've done with clients before where I'll have them write out like I make a 3 column chart. The first column write out like where you're at now. The third column write where you want to be, and in the middle write out like what's stopping you, like
Mm,
what is the challenge, and that's where you focus. Like that's where you start working on a plan. That's where you do that solution focused thinking because you have to like identify it. That's the
yeah.
awareness is like identify where you're at, where you want to be, and what is stopping you, what needs to be worked on, and start working on a plan, ask for help, ask for guidance. Like there's so many opportunities to get you where you want to go.
Yeah. I mean, break down the walls.
Yeah. And like we were saying before, be willing to be a beginner at something.
Yeah.
Just because it's going to take time, like if you really want something, time's going to pass anyways.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
just start.
that right there is everything. The time is going to pass anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's why we've talked about like people have changed their careers at in their 40s and their 50s. Like don't be doing something whether it's your job or not. If it's starting a new hobby like from the beginning or whatever it is, like the time is going to pass. So
yeah.
if you really want something, like just start.
Yeah. I mean, I just got my steel mace today, which so I did 6 years of MMA training and basically traded that in for yoga and found a very different kind of peace. And I'm very happy with that. Still in love with kettlebells, but I have wanted to try a steel mace for years, like since I was doing MMA training. I just got it today and I'm very stoked to try it and be a beginner again and, kind of find my own way in that. But yeah, anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.